Okay, I'm just gonna do these as one video. So, New Age of Heroes, Sideways number 4, and Immortal Men number 2. So I haven't really talked about these much recently, which I really should have, because the New Age of Heroes has been doing a lot of things right. It's been doing a lot of cool new ideas. It's been putting the art. It's been trying to tell, not necessarily new stories, but tell old stories in a new way. And Sideways is probably the best example of that. It's like Sideways is very obviously supposed to be based on Spider-Man. Just the costume design alone gives that away, and a lot of other ancillary things about him. But they're still doing it in kind of an interesting way. They're specifically tying him to, like the social media stuff, but in a way that's not stupid. It's not just that he's stopping to take selfies every time he punches a bad guy. It's that he's trying to be, he's kind of like the New Warriors in the Civil War era, where they were trying to have their own reality show. It's sort of the same thing, and it keeps going the same way for him. He keeps screwing it up because of his YouTube channel, or whatever it is. In the last issue, he accidentally ripped Villainous's arm off when he teleported away, and he didn't realize that her arm was still on his shoulder, so he ended up taking the limb off, which was kind of gruesome, and they don't really play that up as much in this issue as they maybe should. Although his girlfriend does chastise him for it numerous times, but it's still, like, you'd figure they would focus on that a little bit more. But then in this one, they may be building up to that later because he screws up again. They come up against this villain named Replicant, who I don't know if he's an established DC villain or not. But he and this other younger superhero, who I guess was briefly in the Teen Titans or something, they take on this guy who can steal powers. And Sideways does a couple of clever things to fight him. Like, he gets the guy to use his fire powers on him, and then he uses a teleport, portal thing to just redirect the flames behind him. But that nearly kills the guy. Then the other guy gets kind of like cocky, and he wipes himself down while still controlling his powers, and he ends up ripping himself apart. So it's like, even though it's not really directly Sideways' fault, he still didn't control the situation the way that a professional superhero would. And he realizes that he messed up. He's not, his girlfriend is not letting him live it down, and he's talking about quitting. And then this, oh, damn it. Oh yeah, this is coming out soon. That's cool. And then this cosmic being, who earlier tried to kill him, but now seems a lot more sheepish, shows up in his bedroom. And then we find out, the big twist at the end is that his mom's boss is part of this organization that's trying to track down Sideways to use for his powers, and that they know who he is, so they're trying to figure out how to capture him without being too conspicuous about it. So yeah, but overall, this is still a really good series. It's dealing with, the younger superhero trying to find his feet, but it's dealing with it in a much less obnoxious way than a lot of the dumb Marvel comics have tried to in recent years. It's a shame that these aren't selling better, but I don't know. I feel like that this is just gonna have. I feel like this is the sort of thing that could take time to find its footing, and you can see that the art is still being done by Kenneth Rockefort, who's I really didn't know much about him before this, which is a shame. But I think I'm gonna have to track down some of his other stuff before this. So yeah, that's really good. But then Immortal Man is a bigger surprise, because this one is continuing the high level of quality that the previous 3 issues had. Immortal Man, most people agreed that the first issue was one of the weaker ones of New 52, or of the New Age of Heroes. And so it's really surprising that this one was a lot better than the first issue was, because the first issue was a lot of explanation, and it was just sort of building up to really saw what. And then in this one, we actually get an explanation of who these people on the cover are. So Timber is from the Menem. She's Indian. She's Native American, from a tribe in the early 19th century. Her powers are basically that of Apache Chief from the Super Friends cartoon. She can control her size and density. So I don't know why they didn't just call her like Apache Squaw or something, but that's a joke. They shouldn't have done that. They've got Ghost Fist, who was sort of a vigilante in the 1920s, and he has this energy vaguely, and he's made of energy. He can teleport. His powers are, I don't know, a little bit bland. They've got this beast-looking thing here that can kind of control how bestial she is or looks. So that here she's like really fearsome and, you know, about to rip somebody's head off. But here there's an older picture of her where she's just docile and almost harmless looking. And she's from the 1990s. And then we get the guy who, for this issue anyway, is used as the framing device, who is Reload. And the idea is that he can control time locally. It doesn't seem like he can actually go forward or backwards in time, but he can return something to an earlier state in that particular object's chronology. And it explains that the first time he did it was when he was stuck in the mines that he used to work in when he was back in the 1930s. And he accidentally reverted himself back to a time when he wasn't covered in soot anymore. And he just kept it like that so that the coal soot really didn't touch him. But when he became older and he learned how to defend himself, he figured out he could take a gun and just simply keep reverting it back to the time when it had a bullet in it. So he can basically shoot a single bullet effectively endlessly. So that he never needs to reload. He can just keep shooting over and over. And then our main character, Caden Park, is running away, and we find out a little bit more about him, that his parents are... we kind of knew that his parents are wealthy business people involved in some things. It turns out they're involved in some things that are relevant to the plot, and they end up getting killed and turned into these things right here by this dude whose name I forgot, and I'm not going to look up. And we even find out a little bit of his power, which is that he seems to have some kind of tactile telepathy, that he can see a person's either thoughts or immediate past. It's not really clear, but the fact that we know for a fact he has a power is something. So yeah, so this is a much more action-heavy issue than the past one, and the fact that we actually get a lot more of an explanation of who some of these people are and more hints at what they want. We get more explanation about their character, like Reload. It goes on about how that he was tired of being exploited by the bosses and the corrupt politicians, and that his whole point is that he's gonna, when he dies, he's gonna be the one that determines how he dies, not some person that's trying to exploit him. It's kind of unfortunate that Jim Lee didn't stick around for another issue. This one is by Ryan Benjamin and James Tinian, but because the guy is like trying to be like Jim Lee, but he's not. But yeah, this one, when this first issue came out, it was probably the weakest issue of that, or Curse of Brimstone was up there for the weakest issue of the New Age of Heroes books that I had read. I haven't read the second Curse of Brimstone, even though I have it. I don't know why. But this one, at least, definitely stepped up a lot in its second issue, and it's actually, like, genuinely cool now. So that's a good thing. And they even explained that, like, these team here, that they're kind of like the scrubs, because, I mean, the oldest one is from the 19th century, and as this lady points out, the Infinite Woman, or whatever they call her, who's been around since the dawn of time, most of the people that were in this Immortal Men group are, like, hundreds, if not thousands of years old, and the only team that's left are the ones that are, you know, less than 150 years old. So, yeah, this is actually genuinely, like, a cool series. So, yeah, New Age of Heroes continues to surprise and impress. So, tell me what you think. Tell me what you're reading. Tell me if you're reading these. Like, comment, subscribe. In any case, this is Unring Chevron signing off.